Part 1. The Betrayal of the Good Person, the Shattering of Illusion, and a Cruel Prologue. A prince, if he wants to maintain his rule, must learn how not to be good, and to use this knowledge or not to use it, according to necessity. Niccolò Machiavelli. Let us be honest from the very beginning. Let us tear away the gentle, sugar-coated veneer of civility. If you believe that the world owes you flowers and applause simply because you are a good person, if you are convinced that pure kindness, selfless dedication, and expecting nothing in return are the golden tickets to success, then you are living in a meticulously woven, self-indulgent fantasy. And the most tragic part is that deep within your soul, you can already hear the faint echoes of this fantasy shattering, even as your conscious mind desperately refuses to acknowledge it. Let us take an inventory of those bitter moments you chew on in the dead of night. How many times have you, abiding by the creed to be kind to others, silently shouldered the heaviest workload in a team project, only to watch the colleague most adept at self-promotion and packaging their efforts stand in the spotlight when credit is given? How many times have you, out of sheer sincerity, opened your heart to friends and partners, sharing your vulnerabilities and secrets, only to discover they have become fodder for gossip or worse, weapons to be used against you at a critical moment? And how many times have you adhered to your principles, refusing those gray area temptations, and holding fast to your internal moral compass, only to be effortlessly surpassed by those with no bottom line, those who are masters of calculation? They ascend by stepping on your nobility, while you are left behind, lamenting the injustice of the world. You feel like a clown, trapped in a prison of your own making, dressed in the colorful costume of goodwill with a fixed smile painted on your face. Yet in the unseen corners, you let tears wash away the cheap grease paint. You feel the entire world trampling upon you. Your compromises are seen as weakness, your tolerance as foolishness, your sincerity consumed as if it were cheap. You do the right thing again and again, only to be ignored, used, and heartlessly discarded again and again. You have been taught to be a light, but reality has forced you to understand that at certain times, being a light only makes you a more conspicuous, more easily targeted bullseye. The fairy tales, the heroic epics, the moral adages we were fed from childhood all depict an ideal world of clear cause and effect, where good is rewarded and evil is punished. In this world, honesty, nobility, and kindness are the supreme virtues, sufficient in themselves to form the bedrock of success. But now, it is time to open your eyes and confront the real, coarse, and complex world of adults, a world filled with gamesmanship and calculation. Its operating logic is far more intricate and cold than you ever imagined. The world, this vast and merciless arena, never rewards the merely good. It rewards the players, those who deeply understand the rules of the game and know how to play every card in their hand. Your pain does not stem from your kindness. There is nothing inherently wrong with being kind. The root of your suffering is that kindness is all you have. You have mistakenly assumed that everyone you face is playing the same gentleman's game based on trust and morality. But the truth is, you are in a dark forest, surrounded by predators disguised as friends. They are natural-born opportunists who can smell the scent of your naivete from a mile away and will not hesitate to pounce, devouring your kindness until nothing remains. In their eyes, you are not a respected adversary, but a perfect, defenseless prey. Your kindness, without a sharp edge, is tantamount to announcing to the world, "I am undefended." This tragedy of the good person plays out every single day. And the ghost of Machiavelli, even after 500 years, still watches it all with a cold gaze. His theories are not a curse, but a bitter medicine that might just save you from drowning. What he sought to reveal are the underlying codes of human nature and power, the very codes that countless people deliberately ignore in this grand game. Are you now prepared to undergo this brutal awakening? Part 2. Machiavelli's Cold Admonitions. Welcome to the real game. For centuries, the name Machiavelli has been virtually synonymous with cunning, cruelty, and amorality. His book, The Prince, has been decried by many as the Devil's Handbook. However, if we peel back the layers of historical bias and moralistic fog, we discover that he was not teaching men to be evil. Rather, he was dissecting the true face of human nature and the inner mechanics of power with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. What he did was present the bloody, unvarnished truth of the world, forcing you to abandon your unrealistic fantasies. Machiavelli understood profoundly that human nature, at its most fundamental level, is selfish, fickle, self-serving, and risk-averse. People may display gentleness and friendliness in times of peace and comfort, but once their core interests are at stake, when faced with threats and pressure, they will not hesitate to become deceitful, ungrateful, and even cruel. He wrote, "Men are quicker to forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony." This is not a cynic's taunt, but an observation of chilling clarity. He tells you never to overestimate the moral conscience of others, and never to underestimate the inherent darkness within human nature. To stake your safety and future on the goodwill of others is the greatest gamble in the world, and the stake is your own life. It is upon this profound insight into human nature that Machiavelli built his most subversive argument. Virtue, without the wings of cunning, is a fatal weakness. Kindness, without the armor of strategy, is an alluring trap. He made a clear distinction between two different kinds of morality. One for the ordinary citizen, based on ideals, faith, and universal values, and another for the prince, or for that matter, any player who wishes to master their own destiny, which must be flexible, pragmatic, and serve the ultimate goal: survival and victory. Now, think back again. How many times have you, by clinging to that citizen's morality, fallen into the trap named kindness? You thought showing vulnerability would elicit sympathy, but it invited contempt and exploitation. You believed that being transparent would earn trust, but it revealed all your cards. You assumed that sticking to principles was noble, but it left you paralyzed in the real-world game. You are like a stubborn chess player who believes that as long as his pieces are made of gold, he is bound to win, never considering that his opponent doesn't care about the material. They only care about how to use the simplest pawn to checkmate your king. Here, Machiavelli offers you a new choice: to become a player who possesses intelligent kindness. This is not a call to abandon all your principles and become an out-and-out villain. On the contrary, it demands a higher level of wisdom. It requires you to understand that morality itself is not a rigid dogma to be followed at all times, but a coat that can be worn or removed, a tool that can be wielded. You must learn to judge when to display your benevolence and generosity, to win hearts and build your reputation, and when to conceal your true intentions. Showing the ferocity of a lion and the cunning of a fox to deter enemies and protect yourself. This is the fundamental difference between a player and a pawn. The pawn passively accepts the rules, its fate decided by the one moving the pieces. The player, however, actively uses the rules, even creates them, to seize control of their own destiny. The predicaments you face are not because you are not good enough, but because you do not yet know how to protect yourself, how to give your kindness the teeth and claws it needs to survive. You believe others are playing the same fair game on a brightly lit board. But that is not the case. The world is full of shadowy deals, made under the table, full of privileged individuals who can ignore the rules. And Machiavelli is the one who lifts you from the board to show you the entire game in its full, unsparing context. He tells you that to avoid being devoured, the first thing you must learn is not how to make a good move, but how to read your opponent and understand the unwritten, hidden rules of the game itself. Part 3. The Player's Arsenal. The Art of Mastering Appearance, Silence, Distance, and Emotion. Once you have accepted this brutal reality and resolved to transform from a pawn at the mercy of others into a player who can influence the game, you must begin to arm yourself. What Machiavelli provides is a sharp and practical arsenal of intellectual weapons. This is not dark magic, but a set of survival strategies derived from a profound understanding of human nature. The first weapon, the power of perception. Machiavelli teaches that appearance, or perception, is everything. What matters is not only what you are, but more importantly, what others perceive you to be. In a world of fragmented information, where people generally lack the patience for deep understanding, first impressions and public image almost entirely define your value. If you give the impression of being weak and easily bullied, then even if you are internally as solid as a rock, others will treat you like a soft target. If you project an image of strength and confidence, then even when you have moments of doubt, others will treat you with a measure of awe and respect. Consider the law of promotion in the workplace. Between the technically brilliant but silent expert and the moderately skilled colleague who excels at managing up and constantly projecting a positive, proactive image to their superiors, who is more likely to be promoted? The answer is self-evident. The reality is that people do not follow the best or the most righteous leader. They follow the one who appears to be in control, the one who seems most worthy of their trust. Therefore, learning to manage your image is a mandatory course. This is not about being fake. It is about being strategic in your self-presentation. When cooperation is needed, show your reliability and sincerity. When facing challenges, demonstrate your decisiveness and resolve. When the situation is uncertain, maintain an aura of inscrutable mystery. Your words, your actions, your attire, even your social media presence are all constructing a narrative about you. Your job is to be the author of this story, not to let others write it for you. Remember, in the game of power, reality matters far less than the perception of reality. The second weapon: strategic silence and unpredictability. Machiavelli believed that a ruler should never be an open book for all to read. Those who constantly display their emotions, plans, and intentions on their faces and in their speech are dangerously vulnerable. Because once your patterns of behavior can be predicted, you lose all strategic advantage. Others can easily anticipate your reactions, and in doing so, lay traps to ensnare you. True power is often nurtured in silence. Silence creates uncertainty, and uncertainty breeds curiosity and awe. When others cannot fathom your true thoughts, they dare not act rashly against you. In a negotiation, the person who speaks the least and remains the most composed often holds the ultimate advantage. In a conflict, the one who does not react emotionally but chooses to observe calmly is the one who will find the opponent's fatal flaw. Furthermore, you must learn to be unpredictable. If you always respond to provocations in the same way, your enemies will use the same tactics to provoke you next time. But if you are sometimes lenient and sometimes severe, sometimes swift to act and sometimes patient in waiting, you will throw your opponents into confusion. They cannot affix a simple label to you, and thus they cannot devise an effective strategy against you. An unpredictable person is dangerous, and it is only when you become dangerous in the eyes of others that they will truly begin to respect you. The third weapon: scarcity and strategic distance. There is a common weakness in human nature. We tend not to cherish what is easily obtained, but to covet what is rare and difficult to acquire. This principle applies equally to interpersonal relationships and the arena of power. Machiavelli cautioned the prince to avoid becoming too familiar or too accessible, because excessive familiarity breeds contempt and erodes awe. When your time, your attention, and your help are always offered unconditionally and without limit, they become cheap. People begin to take your presence, your efforts, and your generosity for granted. You become a public utility, not an individual of unique value. Therefore, you must learn to regulate your presence. Learn to appear at crucial moments and maintain your distance when it is not necessary. Let your absence be felt, and let your presence carry weight. Because when you learn to disappear at the right time, when you learn to meter out your energy, people will start seeking you out. Think of truly influential figures. They do not exhaust themselves in every skirmish. They appear only in the most critical battles, and when they do, all eyes are upon them. Scarcity creates desire. Distance creates authority. The fourth weapon: the absolute control of emotion. This is the most central and most difficult weapon to master. Machiavelli argued that a person ruled by their emotions is a puppet that can be easily manipulated. The one who cannot control their anger, fear, or anxiety will ultimately become a slave to these feelings and make disastrous decisions. Think about the last time someone made you lose your cool. In that moment of rage, in the instant you spoke without thinking and acted impulsively, who held the real power in that situation? Not you. It was the opponent who successfully provoked you and threw you off balance. Because by controlling your emotions, they controlled your actions. True mastery lies in an unflappable inner calm. A prudent person must act with coldness and calculation at all times. This does not mean you must become heartless. It means you must cease to be a slave to your own feelings. Before making any important decision, first let the emotional tide recede, allowing the reefs of reason to emerge. The one who cannot be provoked, the one who can maintain their center no matter what happens, is the one who truly possesses power. The provocations, flatteries, and threats of others cannot shake their core, and therefore cannot cloud their judgment. Master these 4 weapons, and you will begin your transformation from a naive idealist into a clear-eyed realist. You will begin to understand that the game of this world is far more profound than you ever imagined. Part 4. Your choice: a victim of the rules, or the one who writes them. Now, all the cards are on the table. This cold wisdom from 500 years ago, like a torch lit in the darkness, illuminates a scene that may not be beautiful, but is undeniably real. Machiavelli did not paint you a utopia. He simply handed you a true map of this brutal world. You once believed the world owed you something for your kindness. You complained, you fumed, you felt the sting of injustice. But now you understand, the world owes no one anything. It simply operates according to its own inherent, merciless rules. The experiences that wounded you were not accidents. They were the inevitable outcomes of this system in action. You were trying to perform an idealistic script in a realist play, and the ending was preordained. The truth is, those who truly dominate the game are not the strongest or the most ferocious. They are the ones who can maintain a calm mind when all around them are losing theirs. The ones who dare to swim against the current when everyone else is drifting along. They are the hunters who understand the art of the wait, who know to pull the trigger only at the opportune moment for a fatal, decisive strike. The world is full of people who rush, who act without thinking. They make decisions based on impulse, never considering the long-term consequences. But those who truly control the board know how to wait, how to observe, how to calculate. So, now, the most important decision lies before you. Will you remain here, letting this knowledge swirl in your head as an interesting but harmless idea, and then return to your old life, continuing to play the part of the one who is overlooked and exploited? Or are you ready to start putting it into practice? I warn you, once you begin to apply these principles, you can never go back. Because in that moment, you will no longer be the same person. You will no longer be the naive soul who believed that giving is always rewarded. You will become a player, one who knows how to protect themselves, how to make their values seen, and how to navigate this complex world with skill and purpose. And this is the first step toward true freedom. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. It is understanding the rules so completely that you gain the ability to choose how to act. Your task is not to stop being kind, but to start being kind in a way that benefits you. Learn to walk in the shadows when necessary. Know when to smile and when to show your teeth. Because the world is not fair, but you can learn to play by its rules and still remain true to yourself. Machiavelli did not write The Prince to teach you to be evil. He wrote it to teach you how to survive. So, tell me, are you ready to start playing the real game? If you have watched this far, I want to know who has truly understood the message. Leave this phrase in the comments. Power is in the silence. Let us see how many of us have grasped what it truly means to move with strategy. And if this video has made you question something, if it has made you see things from a different angle, subscribe, because this is just the beginning. See you in the next video. And remember, don't be another pawn in the system. Become the one who writes the rules.